In December 1991, a 6-year-old boy's world collapsed. His grandfather was shot dead. His home burned to the ground. His family fled to a hotel in Zadar, where he kicked a football across the parking lot just to feel something other than fear. Years later, Hajduk Split looked at that same boy and told him he was too small, too frail, too weak. They let him walk away. That boy was Luka Modrić. And from a war-zone childhood and a rejection that should have ended everything, he became the player who broke a decade of Messi and Ronaldo to win the Ballon d'Or. This is that journey. Luka Modrić was born on September 9, 1985, in Zadar, a city that would soon be caught in the crossfire of the Croatian War of Independence. By the end of 1991, violence reached the family's doorstep. His grandfather, also named Luka, was shot dead while tending livestock near their village. The killing, later cited in a 2024 indictment against Željko Badza for the deaths of 7 civilians, forced the Modric family to abandon their home as it burned that same night. With nowhere left, Luka's parents led him through a winter of uncertainty. The first stop was a crowded shelter in Makarska. Then, in April 1992, they arrived at Hotel Kolovar in Zadar, a seaside hotel now filled with families who had lost almost everything. The rooms were cramped, the future uncertain, and the echoes of shelling never far from the windows. Yet outside, in the rough expanse of the hotel parking lot, Luka found something steady. Among dozens of other displaced children, he kicked a battered ball across the concrete, using football as routine and escape. There was no crowd, no stadium, just the rhythm of the game and a momentary break from fear. Years later, Modric would reflect, "Things that aren't nice happen in war, but I don't have hate." What began in a refugee hotel parking lot was not a story of trauma as destiny, but of a boy who learned to keep moving forward, one touch, one pass at a time. Hajduk Split was the dream. At 10, Luka Modrić traveled to their youth trial, hoping to wear the same shirt as his childhood heroes. The verdict came quickly. Too small, too slight, not strong enough to make it at the top. The scouts saw a boy who wouldn't grow into the kind of player they wanted. They didn't see the way he read the game, how he moved in tight spaces, or how he never stopped working. For most kids, that kind of rejection would have been the end. But Tomo Basic, Modric's coach at NK Zadar, saw something different. He watched Luka's close control, his vision, and his quiet persistence. Basic kept him in Zadar's youth system, refusing to let one opinion decide the boy's future. By 16, Basic was the one who opened the door to Dinamo Zagreb, setting Modric on a path that would rewrite what talent looks like. Dinamo Zagreb's stadium filled with the sound of hope and doubt in equal measure when Luka Modric stepped into the senior team in 2005. He wasn't the biggest name on the pitch, but he quickly became the one who made everything tick. By the end of his first full season, Dinamo were champions of Croatia. The next year, the story repeated itself. 3 straight league titles, 2006, 2007, and 2008, each one with Modric at the center, dictating the pace, finding space where others saw only traffic. The silverware didn't stop at the league. Dinamo added domestic cup honors to their growing haul, with Modric's fingerprints on every decisive moment. In 2007, at just 21, he was named Player of the Year in Croatia. The recognition was less about highlight reels and more about how he controlled games, how he made teammates better. That same season, the armband passed to him. Dynamo's new captain didn't shout or demand attention. He led by always being in the right place, making the right decision, carrying the weight of responsibility like it was part of his kit. Europe took notice during a tense tie against Ajax. The popular story tells of a heroic penalty and a famous upset, but the record is more complicated. Modric stepped up for a crucial spot kick and missed. Dinamo fought bravely, but were eliminated in the shootout. Even so, scouts and journalists began to circle. Something about the way he played, his calm under pressure, his vision, hinted at bigger stages ahead. For the first time, the world outside Croatia started to wonder how far Luka Modrić could go. Tottenham paid a reported £16.5 million in the summer of 2008 to bring Luka Modrić to North London. The move was seen as a leap into the unknown. The Premier League moved at a different speed, faster, more physical, with less room for error. English pundits doubted whether a slight, technical midfielder from Croatia could survive the tackles and the tempo. Old concerns about his size resurfaced, this time in the headlines of British tabloids. On the pitch, his first months were spent out wide on the left, a role that asked for pace and power over vision and control. Modric's best qualities, his ability to read the game, to find space, to set the rhythm, were muted, not magnified. Off the field, a quiet foundation was being built. In 2010, Modric married Vanja Bosnic, his longtime partner. Together, they would raise 3 children, creating a sense of stability far from the spotlight. Family became a refuge, especially in moments of uncertainty. In 2021, Modric publicly acknowledged a health episode involving his father, stepping away from training for a short time. He spoke about it only briefly, letting privacy stand above speculation. Yet in England, the question remained, where did Modric truly fit? The answer was still waiting, just beyond the left flank, as Tottenham searched for the right balance. Harry Redknapp arrived at Tottenham in October 2008 with a simple instruction for Luka Modric: get off the wing and come find the ball. Redknapp saw what others missed. He moved Modric from the left flank into the heart of midfield, where every moment ran through his boots. In this new role, Modric could collect the ball early, turn under pressure, and scan the whole field. He became the one who decided when to slow the game, when to quicken it, and when to break an opponent's press. Defensively, he read danger before it arrived, closing passing lanes and starting counters from deep. The results were immediate. Tottenham climbed the table, finishing the 2009 to 2010 season in 4th place with 70 points, good enough for the club's first ever Champions League qualification. White Hart Lane buzzed with new belief. The following year, Modric led Spurs into Europe's biggest stage. They reached the quarter-finals, where Real Madrid waited. Over 2 legs, Tottenham were outclassed, losing 4-0 on aggregate. The defeat stung, but there was a twist of fate. The team that ended his run would soon become his new home. Sometimes, adaptation means more than survival. It opens the door to the next challenge. The summer of 2012 brought a tug-of-war for Luka Modric's future. Chelsea circled, but it was Real Madrid who pressed hardest, sensing a midfielder who could unlock their long-standing Champions League puzzle. Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy refused to let him go easily, holding out for a substantial offer. Reports put the final fee near €30 million, a figure debated even now, but the message was clear. Madrid wanted Modric, and he wanted the chance to test himself on the biggest stage every season. Madrid was chasing more than a new signing. The club's obsession with a 10th European crown, La Decima, hung in the air like unfinished business. Yet, Modric's arrival was no coronation. Spanish sports daily Marca wasted little time, labeling him one of the club's worst signings after a slow start and limited minutes. The criticism echoed through the Bernabeu, questioning whether he belonged among Madrid's Galacticos. For Modric, the standard was set, unforgiving, unyielding, and still out of reach. March 5, 2013. Old Trafford, Champions League round of 16. Real Madrid trailed Manchester United on aggregate, the pressure mounting with every tick of the clock. In the second half, a red card for Nani tipped the balance. In one moment, the game's rhythm changed. Jose Mourinho turned to Luka Modric, sending him into the storm. Madrid needed something, anything, to keep their European dream alive. Modric found his moment in the 84th minute. He drifted to the edge of the box, measured the angle, and struck low and hard. The ball skidded past David De Gea and rattled the post on its way in. Suddenly, the tie was level. A season that had threatened to slip away was back within reach. Just minutes later, Cristiano Ronaldo finished the job. Madrid advanced 3-2 on aggregate. For the first time, Modric's name rang out not as a question, but as an answer. The months that followed brought change. Mourinho's exit made way for Carlo Ancelotti, who saw in Modric not just a survivor, but a centerpiece. The stage grew even bigger on May 24, 2014, in Lisbon, at the Champions League final against Atletico Madrid. Madrid chased history, desperate for a 10th European crown. In stoppage time, Modric stood over a corner. His delivery arced perfectly, finding Sergio Ramos, whose header pulled Madrid from the brink. Extra time belonged to Madrid. 4-1. La Decima, at last. Modric, once doubted, now stood at the heart of a team that refused to give in, his resilience woven into the fabric of their greatest triumph. Doubt never really leaves the room for long. Even after La Decima, the questions returned, this time about age, injuries, and whether Luka Modric's body could keep up with the brutal demands of elite football. Hamstring strains, knocks to the knee, the relentless calendar, each season, the whispers grew louder. How much longer could he last? Inside the Real Madrid dressing room, one voice offered a different perspective. Zinedine Zidane, club legend and future manager, pulled Modric aside in 2016. The words stuck. You will win the Ballon d'Or someday. Zidane's belief wasn't just about talent. It was about the way Modric read the game, adapted, and made every piece fit. That adaptability became the blueprint for Real Madrid's most dominant era. At the heart of it all stood the CMK trio: Casemiro, Modric, Kroos. Casemiro shielded the defense, breaking up attacks and winning back the ball. Kroos controlled the rhythm, spraying passes with surgical precision from deep. And Modric? He became the connector, escaping pressure, changing the tempo, linking defense to attack in moments that rarely made highlight reels but always changed games. Surrounding them, the Bernabeu glittered with stars: Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale, Sergio Ramos, Toni Kroos. Yet, it was the engine room, that understated triangle, that powered Madrid to 3 straight Champions League titles. In 2016, they lifted the trophy in Milan. In 2017, they swept aside Juventus in Cardiff. And in 2018, they completed the dynasty in Kiev. Each time, Modric was there, never the loudest, never the biggest, but always the one making things possible. Longevity at the top wasn't about outpacing everyone. It was about outthinking them, season after season. Croatia arrived in Russia with hope, not expectation. A nation of 4 million, carrying the weight of a country still learning how to dream big, was led by a captain who knew about pressure and patience. Luka Modric wore the armband not as a prize but as a responsibility. His calm, his sense of timing, his insistence on order in the chaos of a World Cup summer. The group stage began with a 2-0 win over Nigeria. Croatia moved the ball with confidence, Modric dictating the rhythm from deep, always available, always thinking one step ahead. Next came Argentina. The world watched as Croatia dismantled Messi's side, 3-0, with Modric curling in the second from distance. No celebration, just a clenched fist and a quick reset. Iceland followed, a 2-1 win that sealed the group. 9 points, top of the table, and suddenly the world noticed. Then came the grind. Denmark in the round of 16. A goal apiece in the opening minutes, then 90 minutes of tension. Modric stepped up for a penalty in extra time and missed. The shootout loomed. When his turn came again, he walked to the spot, eyes steady, and buried it. Croatia advanced. Against Russia in the quarterfinals, another draw, another shootout. Modric's penalty struck the inside of the post and spun in. Sometimes, resilience is measured by what happens after you falter. England in the semi-final. Croatia fell behind early, but Modric kept his teammates moving, urging them on with every touch. Extra time. Mandzukic scored. The final whistle sounded, and Croatia, for the first time, reached the World Cup final. France waited in Moscow. The match was wild, 4 goals conceded, 2 scored. Croatia lost 4-2, but left the pitch with heads held high. Modric, exhausted but unbowed, was awarded the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. Off the field, shadows lingered. The Zdravko Mamić scandal cast its long shadow over Croatian football. Modric testified as a witness, facing public scrutiny and media speculation. Courts later rejected charges against him, but the controversy remained a reminder of how tangled football and power can become. Yet, in the summer of 2018, it was the football that mattered. Modric led, by example, by composure, by work, by standing steady when the world expected him to break. The story of Croatia's World Cup was not just about results. It was about a captain who turned doubt into belief and belief into history. December 2018. The Ballon d'Or stage in Paris stands ready, but for a decade, only 2 names have echoed from its podium: Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Year after year, their rivalry defined what individual greatness looked like. Goals, records, a spotlight that rarely shifted. Then, the envelope opens, and the world hears a different name. Luka Modrić. The first Croatian to win the award, and the first midfielder in more than a decade to break the cycle. His numbers don't leap off the page like the strikers. Modric's influence is measured in the rhythm of the match, the way he slows the pulse of a final or quickens it with a single touch. It's his decision-making under pressure, his durability across the longest seasons, and the quiet leadership that holds a team together when the legs are heavy and the clock is running out. The Ballon d'Or voters see the full picture. A Champions League campaign where Modric ran the show. A World Cup summer where he led Croatia to the brink of history. Not just one moment, but a year defined by consistency and courage. For Modric, the Golden Ball is a rare public validation. But the work behind it, the endless training, the silent sacrifices, remains invisible. The summit reached, the next challenge waits, just beyond the glare of the trophy. Spring 2022. Real Madrid faced Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League round of 16, trailing and nearly out. Luka Modrić took the ball in his own half, glanced up, and threaded a pass between defenders, a line-splitting invitation for Benzema to begin the comeback. The Bernabeu roared, but Modric, as always, kept his focus on the next move. Against Chelsea, with extra time slipping away, he received the ball in space. Outside of his right foot, he bent a cross that seemed to defy geometry, curling onto Rodrigo's stride for a goal that changed the tie. It was vision and timing, not power or speed, that turned the match. Manchester City brought chaos, but Modric brought calm. Pressed on all sides, he recycled possession, found teammates under pressure, and made the right choices. His touch slowed the pulse of a frantic semi-final, helping Madrid survive and advance. On May 28, 2022, he started the Champions League final against Liverpool. Madrid won 1-0. Modric, at 36, lifted his 5th European Cup. No celebration was over the top. The work had always come first. That summer, Casemiro left for Manchester United. The era of the original midfield trio quietly closed. Yet Modric remained, proof that consistency and judgment can outlast spectacle. Even as teammates changed, his influence endured, measured in moments, not noise. In Qatar, the world watched for a repeat, but the story was different. A test of age, experience, and how much one captain could still give. Luka Modric, now a veteran, wore the armband with the same calm he brought to Russia, but the field around him had changed. Croatia's path to the semi-finals wound through tense, tactical battles. The quarter-final against Brazil ended level after 120 minutes, the score locked at 1-1. It came down to penalties. Modric, as always, stepped up for his country, measured, unhurried, sending his shot into the net with the composure of a man who had seen every pressure before. Croatia triumphed in the shootout, eliminating the tournament favorites. The semi-final against Argentina brought heartbreak, but not collapse. Modric rallied his team for one last stand. In the third-place match, Croatia edged Morocco 2-1, claiming bronze. For Modric, it wasn't just about one more medal. It was proof that leadership, rhythm, and belief could keep a nation relevant at the highest level, even as the years and doubters kept counting. On September 28, 2023, Luka Modric became the oldest player to appear for Real Madrid in an official La Liga match, stepping onto the pitch at 38 years and 355 days. Nearly 4 decades of experience, and still the game ran through him. The number on the clock was a reminder. Time moves forward, but Modric kept finding ways to stay in step with it. The story did not slow. On June 1st, 2024, the Champions League final brought Real Madrid face-to-face with Borussia Dortmund. Modric, now a veteran among veterans, played 71 minutes and delivered a key pass in the build-up to the opening goal. Madrid triumphed 2-0. For Modric, it was a 6th European Cup, an achievement that places him among the most decorated midfielders in football history. As of August 2026, no official farewell has taken place at the Santiago Bernabeu. The club's hints and the fans' tributes live in anticipation, but the moment itself remains unwritten. The same is true for any move to AC Milan. Without an official announcement, the Milan chapter stays in the realm of possibility, colored by Modric's lifelong admiration for Zvonimir Boban. He has spoken often about Boban's influence on his love for the game, but not of a formal mentorship. Inside the dressing room, Modric's role as a mentor is clear. Younger players, from Eduardo Camavinga to Jude Bellingham, have praised his guidance, citing his example in training, his advice after matches, and the way he makes newcomers feel part of the team. His leadership is quiet, but unmistakable. Looking ahead, Modric has not confirmed whether he will captain Croatia at the 2026 World Cup, or if there will be a final match alongside old friends like Cristiano Ronaldo. For now, these remain possibilities, not endings. The next page in Modric's story is still waiting to be turned. Today, Luka Modric remains proof that greatness is not a birthright. It's earned step by step, even when the world doubts your every move. As new talents chase glory, his story reminds us, resilience and humility still redefine what a champion looks like. Sometimes, the quietest leader becomes the game's loudest answer.